Welcome back to another episode of On the Subject. I'm your host, Michael Vilardo, co-founder and CEO of SubjectSubject.com. I have an incredibly special guest today. Reminder, we are on the search for the most innovative school leaders across the country. We're in our home state of California, up the beautiful Central Coast in Monterey, with an incredibly special guest who's actually in his final year of being superintendent. Robert Martinez from Antioch. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Michael. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, and it's going to be an amazing conversation. So we always love to ask the why. Why are you in this industry? Why do you want to help kids?
Okay, so I'll give you the nickel version of the $5 story. I was actually a school psychologist when I started my career in 1987.
Wow.
So I was in Southern California, moved up to Northern California, went to school, and decided to be a school psychologist. I came into a district, the Fairfield Sicilian Unified School District, for 32 years. In that 32 years, I was a psychologist for my career, transferred over to site administration, being an assistant principal, went down to human resources as a director and associate superintendent, and left Fairfield Sicilian after the 32 years to go become a superintendent. So spent a year in Mount Diablo, big district in California district. During the pandemic.
That was easy.
Big problems. And then so I transferred away from that, participated in another technology academy for a year and a half, and then found my way to Antioch. And I was actually the chief of human resources, kind of went back to that role, tapped on the shoulder about a year ago to say, and we needed to be the superintendent. So I've been doing two jobs.
Well, I saw that on your name tag, and I'm like, this guy is chief HR and superintendent? I've never heard of that before. How do you wear so many hats?
It's very busy, but a lot of it has to do with, again, building a team of people that you can work with, you can trust, focusing on those relationships. And so I've been very proud to have a great team right now as I look towards my retirement and move away from the school district. So they're going to find a couple of people to do the jobs that I'm doing, but it's okay.
Yeah,
that's the way education works.
Also, you have had such a plethora of roles. It's so impressive. And so you have a real holistic understanding of both the learning and the teaching experience. What have you seen change the most since 1987? That's a really long career.
A long time. So, one of the things that I did just over the course of reflecting on my own success, because it wasn't just about me, it was about people helping me through. So that's a theme of mine wherever I am, whether it's working directly with a student and their parents to help their education get better, or a team of teachers to help their instruction get better, or developing leaders. I've always focused on trying to help people understand where they're at in the system so that they can move forward. So one of the things that I did do over the last couple of years is I wrote a book. It's called Recipes for Resilience.
Where can we find this?
You can find it on Amazon.
Okay.
It's through
make sure you go read it.
DBC Incorporated, Dave Burgess Incorporated as the publisher. But it's Recipes for Resilience, Nurturing Perseverance in Students and Educators. Because really, as people, we need to recognize the strengths we do have. And so in this book, I tell a little bit of my own story growing up as a young man, having some family trauma, leaving home at 16.
Why'd you leave home at 16?
Well, now you're going to get intense. Now, it really was my father who was, my mother passed away when I was 13.
I'm sorry.
So my father really struggled. He did not have the mental health supports or a strong structure for himself. Now, he did find another person to hang out with, but that became a very bad home situation. So based under my upbringing where I was, I just knew I needed to escape.
Where'd you go?
That's a great question. So I ended up at one of my brother's houses, and he said, no, you can't stay here. So I went to the other brother's house, and he said, guess you can stay here. But that was my brother George. And the story behind my brother George, just quickly, is that he actually was a self-made Delta Airlines executive, like with no college education, in from
my favorite airline, shout out Delta,
and worked his way up to a high-level administrative position. So when I started living with brother George, I was on my way to like the prison to pipeline to prison is where I was going. But he said, well, if you're going to stay, we're going to reset the ground rules. Get a job. You're going to go to school. You're going to do the things that you need to do to develop your own personal responsibility. Because I had tenets of that as a kid, but then lost it through that trauma of the family. So now living with my brother George, built this whole Recipes for Resilience that really falls back to an individual making decisions with the support that they have. A lot of people have support that they don't recognize. And so when we connect them to their own support systems, think this is the way for children and for adults. And they start realizing, actually do resources. I have skills and I've been empowered with that. Then we use it. And then you get to your next step and you see your success. But many people fail to recognize even the simple steps of success. When you do recognize those steps of success, you're getting a little bit more confident. Feel a little bit better in that environment. And so I feel that way for educators right now. They have to recognize their own successes. And for our students, we want our students to be so empowered that they're like, of course I'm going to school. Of course I want to do my math and my reading and whatever it happens to be. That's where I think about transitioning from you have to learn what we want you to learn to we want you to learn everything when you're ready to learn it.
That was beautiful. I'm so impressed by your story. You talked about developing leaders. You talked about your story leaving home early. How can we better support our teachers and coaches to develop more leaders? Like, what do you think why did your brother get so through to you? And what could we do to mirror that with our other young people through teaching and coaching?
Yeah, a lot of it comes back to, and we hear oftentimes relationships. We hear about connecting with people as human beings. I think sometimes, and I've been working on this new kind of solution process for people, we forget sometimes that we're human beings. We really do. And we forget to actually hold each other with a high regard, with respect and care and compassion. And so when I've now been bringing people together to solve problems, we're all sitting on the same side of a table. We're looking at the wall where we're addressing all the data, analyzing different situations, recognizing that we're all in this room for a purpose together. That's not happening enough in our teacher lounges, in our district office buildings. People are like attacking each other and you get in your silos and you really are defensive. Again, my brother George could have said, yeah, you're in prison, right? We're going to lock you down. But he really treated me as an adult at that moment and said, okay, here's your reality.
Showed you respect.
Here's the respect. Here's your responsibility. Here's what you have to do. I'm not going to wake you up and send you to school. You got to get up and go, or you're going to have to leave.
Yep.
So those kind of decisions come to you pretty quick. But right now, I think as our education systems, we're in such a need for a transition. We know that AI is going to be very powerful. It is right now. And here we're in conflict with telling kids you can't have your phone at school. And so it's really this dissonance between children who are now growing up with these items in their hands.
They grow up on an iPhone.
And we're telling them, you have this.
You're going to work with it too. You're going to
without giving them reason.
Yeah.
And yet they're still using it. And so we have to get, as educators, very comfortable with a lot of change that's going to happen very quickly and be really ready to work with our students and our teachers collectively to move it forward.
So what do you think is the biggest thing we can, as a collective education sector, really strive to change in the next 5 years? What would you love if you could dream it up? Hey, this 5 years from now will be X way. What do you think?
I reflect on this also as being a dad. So I have
awesome. How old are your kids?
I have 4 sons, and
Nice,
their
yeah.
oldest one is 35, the youngest one is 23. So we've got a good spread of skills there. Highly talented individuals, very unique in their approach to the world. And I think about each of them now, the youngest one being at Long Beach, Cal State Long Beach, and the oldest one who's done these big, powerful technology jobs, software engineering, magic, right? And that's magic I don't understand. But right, their view of the world is very different from what my wife and I thought they were going to do. Like, okay, grow up, go to college, get a job. They're going to work in a company. And
For
they
40
see
years
the
and
world,
retire. Now it's switching all over the
so
place.
just because even I didn't work in the same company, but now life is very different for them. They really are valuing the time together with their partners, with their
beautiful.
children, with trying to make sure, yes, they stay financially secure, but they want something different. So when you think about now the next 5 years and how our students, I'll take it back to this. Some of the simple things we're doing right now with literacy for first grade, second grade, using a system called UFly, which is a return to some phonics-based skills. But all of a sudden, I'm seeing children ending or middle of first grade who are reading like nobody's business because they're excited about reading. That's very different from kids feeling tortured about reading because they just don't, and we're not teaching it correctly. So we've really established a new way to connect with our younger children, where now, calling the kids of the pandemic, have missed 3 or 4 years.
It was brutal,
and even their reading skills we see nationally are so low. we have to almost re-engage them with this same type of energy and process using better technologies. We can't wait.
No, we
So
got
it
to
has
sprint
to
on this.
happen now.
So-
And I think the technology, the AI can help us get in there.
The
with
personalization,
kids.
AI, and
That's
media.
right.
We subject believe all in AI and media, and that's because we say Netflix is 28 years old. They grow up with
Right.
TikTok. They love media. How old are your grandkids?
The youngest one is 15 months. Oh, no, the youngest one is now 5 months, and 15 months is the other one,
Okay.
Jason.
And fun fact for all you listeners out there, the babies born in 2025 or later are now Gen Beta. So we're talking about how do we help Gen Alpha and Gen Beta students, not
Right.
even Gen Z anymore. Time has flown. But one thing we always love to be able to express, one, our gratitude to you and everything you've done for your students, but is there any teacher or student in your career that you would love to shout out and thank on the podcast and give a special message to?
Oh,
I know there's a lot, so it's
yeah,
tough
well,
to pick up.
I'll come back to a few teachers that I know who are retiring this
Yeah.
year.
Awesome.
these
Same
are
as you.
teachers-
You're all
Yeah,
drifting class
they
together.
actually we are, but they worked at one of my original schools, where in 1989 we started a year-round school. So we had 1,200
Oh, very
students,
cool. Innovation. yeah.
1,200 students, year-round track, going all the time. And what was very different about that school is that rather than breaking for the summer, breaking for the winter, teachers would be on for 3 months and then off for a month. But these teachers, it was a school where I was the psychologist and became the principal in the years to come. So I spent about 20 years at the school. And these ladies, several of them have been there since the beginning, and they're now retiring. Jan Snowwalk, Lisa Christians, Julia Lucky, 3 teachers from one school site who have been there, in essence, 36 years or so, same school, giving to a community. They don't just teach the kids in the community, now they're teaching parents of the kids that the second generations are coming through. And so those ladies who are just so important in changing kids' lives really are very meaningful. So again, we still have friends on Facebook and we connect. And so even though I haven't seen them in a while, I'm going to go to their retirement party. And
Right.
they're
That's
going to celebrate
amazing.
me as well. So I think we're going to have a great time. But it's the power of teaching. You really can think about the lives that you've changed in the course of time.
It's the most important piece.
Sometimes you never see. So we have to take those moments to recognize the work. It is a lot of work, but it's
So
the
much
most
work.
powerful work in the world, I think.
The teachers and coaches are the heroes of society. That's something we love to share at Subject. And Robert, I'm really appreciative of everything you've shared for our listeners and the passion you have for helping kids. It's infectious and makes me want to run through a wall. You're amazing. So
I love you
yes,
too. No,
make
it's-
sure
no, I-
everyone you follow us and you like and subscribe. YouTube, Spotify, we're trying to get the followers up so you can hear incredible conversations like this with
No, I
Robert.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely. My pleasure.